Imagine the thunder of samurai charging into battle, their steel blades clashing. Now picture the quiet focus of a training hall, the swift movements punctuated by the sharp crack of bamboo.
Quite a contrast.
Yeah. What caused this shift, from lethal combat to disciplined practice with bamboo? That's just one of the intriguing twists we're going to unravel today.
Indeed. Welcome to this deep dive into the world of Kendo, which literally translates to the way of the sword.
The way of the sword.
Yeah, and the resources we've gathered offer a really rich tapestry exploring its evolution from, well, ancient fighting techniques to the modern discipline you see today.
Okay.
We'll look at its history, the purpose behind the equipment, the essential techniques, the core philosophy, and even some of the legendary figures who helped shape its path.
And for you, our listener who wants to get a real understanding of things without getting sort of bogged down in endless details, this is exactly what you're looking for.
Right.
We've distilled the essence of Kendo from all this fascinating material. Think of this as your shortcut to becoming truly informed about this profound martial art, gaining key insights without feeling overwhelmed.
We have a pretty diverse range of sources for this deep dive. We're looking at the historical context, how Kendo developed over time.
Right.
Then practical guides that explain the equipment and etiquette, deeper explorations of the underlying philosophy, and even stories about some of the pivotal figures in Kendo's history.
So, lots of angles.
Exactly. This variety allows us to really appreciate Kendo from multiple angles.
So our goal today is straightforward, to extract the most vital knowledge about Kendo for you. We want to provide you with the historical background, a practical grasp of the fundamental elements, and a glimpse into the deeper meaning that underpins this art. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's start right with the name itself. Kendo, as we said, means sword way.
Sword way.
Right away, this suggests that it's not solely about the physical act of using a sword, but also about a broader philosophy, a kind of way of life.
And this way has some pretty deep historical roots, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It grew directly out of the close quarters combat skills of the samurai who relied heavily on the katana.
You can just imagine how absolutely critical skill with that sword was for a samurai's very survival.
Exactly. And what's particularly interesting is how those individual fighting skills began to coalesce into something more structured.
Okay.
By the mid-16th century, we start to see the emergence of distinct Kendo schools, or Ryu.
Ryu.
Yeah, R-Y-U. Names like Kashima-ryu, Keiji-ryu, Ito-ryu, and Yigen-ryu become prominent as centers of learning. Influential figures like Hayashizaki Jinsuke Shigenobu are considered early pioneers, and the Yagyu family, with their distinct Ito Yagyu and Owari Yagyu branches, also became incredibly important.
Wow.
The whole idea of a ryu signifies a lineage of specific teachings and traditions passed down through generations.
It's almost like different schools of thought developing within a broader discipline.
That's a good way to put it.
And you mentioned Ito Ryu. Wasn't there a rather remarkable story about its founder, Ito Itosai Kagehisa?
Absolutely. Born in 1550, Ito Itosai Kagehisa is a figure, well, shrouded in legend. He supposedly honed his skills through extensive travel and was said to have never been defeated. The very founding of Ito Ryu is tied to a dramatic event where he defeated his future disciple, Mikogami Tenzin, using nothing more than a piece of firewood as a weapon.
Get out, firewood.
Firewood. And that piece of wood, remarkably, is said to have become the inspiration for the standard length of the short sword, or kodachi, within Ito Ryu.
Wow. Talk about making an unforgettable first impression.
Exactly.
So from these individual schools and these, well, larger-than-life figures, how did Kendo evolve into the more standardized form we know today?
Okay, this is where that crucial shift you mentioned right at the beginning comes in. The pivotal development was the introduction of protective armor, called bogu, and the use of bamboo swords, or shinai.
Shinai.
Before this, training was largely limited to kata, or prearranged forms, because free sparring with real or even wooden swords carried, significant risks.
Makes sense.
The beauty of the bogu and shinai was that they allowed for much more realistic and dynamic practice known as kaiko.
Kaiko?
It's almost counterintuitive. By making training safer, they actually enabled a more intense and effective form of learning.
So safety equipment actually unlocked a whole new level of training.
Huh. But then Japan went through a period of massive transformation, right, with the Meiji restorations.
Yes, right.
What impact did that and the increasing influence of Western culture have on Kendo?
Well, the Meiji period, starting in 1868, was a time of rapid modernization and westernization in Japan.
Big changes.
Huge. Traditional martial arts like Kendo saw a dip in public interest as new ideas and practices gained popularity. The government even issued a decree prohibiting the wearing of swords in public.
Wow, that must have been huge.
Yeah. Given the deep historical and cultural significance of the sword in Japan, this was a substantial shift in societal norms. That must have felt like a real break with tradition for many, but it sounds like Kendo didn't just fade away entirely.
Not at all. Towards the end of the 19th century, there was actually a resurgence of interest in traditional Japanese arts and culture.
Okay.
The Sino-Japanese War stimulated national pride, and the Dai Nippon Butoku Kai, a national organization dedicated to promoting martial arts, including Kendo, was established in 1895.
Dai Nippon Butoku Kai.
Exactly. And in the early 20th century, Kendo even found its way into the physical education curriculum of high schools. Figures like Watanabe Noboru played a key role in popularizing Kendo among university students during this period.
And this push for broader adoption led to a more unified style of Kendo, if I understand correctly.
Precisely. In 1912, a significant step towards standardization was taken with the creation of the Dai Nippon Teikoku Kendo Kata.
Okay, that sounds important.
It was. It's a set of prearranged forms developed by prominent practitioners from various schools. The aim was to provide a common set of fundamental techniques for teaching Kendo in schools across the country.
So consistency.
Exactly. This laid a crucial foundation for the modern form of Kendo we know today.
But then World War II brought about another period of profound change. What happened to Kendo during and after that conflict?
Yeah, after World War II, under the Allied occupation, Kendo, along with other martial arts that were seen as having, let's say, militaristic connections, was banned.
Banned? Wow.
Yeah. The Dai Nippon Butoku Kai was also disbanded. However, in 1952, Kendo was reestablished under a new organization called the Zen Nihon Kendo Renmei, or AJK.
Yeah, AJKF. Okay.
It gradually regained recognition, becoming a part of national athletic competitions. And then by 1970, the International Kendo Federation, or IKF, was formed, marking Kendo's growth as a truly global martial art.
It's quite a journey, isn't it? From battlefield necessity to a respected international discipline focused on personal growth.
Yeah.
So what are the core aims of modern Kendo as defined by the AJKF?
Well, the AJKF articulates the goals of Kendo as molding the mind and body, cultivating a vigorous spirit through correct and rigorous training in the discipline of the sword.
Molding mind and body.
It emphasizes striving for excellence in the art, showing respect for others, fostering sincerity, and the ongoing development of oneself.
So personal development.
Ultimately, yeah, it's about cultivating the ability to face any situation with composure and clarity without being thrown off balance by fear or surprise, what some might call an immovable mind.
An immovable mind. I like that. So it's clearly about much more than just the physical act of wielding a bamboo sword. Let's dive into those basic elements you mentioned. First up, the shinai itself. It's more than just a practice tool, right? It seems to hold a deeper significance.
Absolutely. While the bamboo used for shinai today largely comes from Southeast Asia, Japanese manufacturers adhere to very specific and rigorous quality standards. The shinai is constructed from 4 slats of bamboo bound together, and traditionally these 4 slats are said to represent the 4 virtues of the samurai.
4 virtues. Interesting.
Yeah. And interestingly, around 1856, the Tokugawa military government actually established a maximum permissible length for the shinai used in training.
A standard length. And it looks like every single part of the shinai has a specific name and a purpose.
Precisely. The manuchi is the primary striking area of the blade, located between the nakayui, that's the middle binding, and the kensen, or sword tip.
Manuchi, nakayui, kensen. Got it.
The tsuka is the handle, which is covered by the tsukagawa, the leather handle wrapping. Then you have the tsuba, the hand guard.
Okay.
When selecting a shinai, it's really important to inspect it for things like worm damage.
Worm damage? Serious?
Oh yeah, bamboo. Also the thickness of the sakagawa, that's the leather cap at the tip, the tightness and condition of the tsukagawa, and the tautness of the tsuru, the string that runs along the spine.
Worm infestation in bamboo swords. That's a detail most people probably wouldn't consider.
Yeah.
And you mentioned different types of shinai.
Yes. While shinai are constructed from multiple pieces of bamboo, the term single bamboo shinai refers to a style where the individual slats are particularly thick and strong. Shinai also come in various shapes. Dobari are thicker towards the handle, shifting the balance point closer to your hand.
Dobari.
Chubuto have a more balanced medium thickness, and hosomi are slimmer overall.
Chubuto, hosomi.
Okay. These different shapes can influence how the shinai handles, and thus might be preferred for certain techniques or by individuals with different physiques.
Makes sense.
Also, importantly, the regulations regarding the size, both length and weight of the shinai vary depending on the age and gender of the practitioner.
So not one size fits all.
Definitely not. For instance, the maximum length for an adult male's single sword, or ito, shinai, is typically 120 centimeters.
So there's a surprising level of nuance in what appears to be just a simple bamboo stick. And it's treated with a certain degree of reverence, isn't it?
Absolutely. The shinai is seen as embodying the spirit of the samurai sword, so it's treated with considerable respect.
How so?
Well, you should never step on or over a shinai, and it's typically stored in a shinai-bukuro, a protective carrying bag, and kept in a cool, dry place.
Sheabukuro.
Proper care involves occasional disassembly and the application of oil to help prevent the bamboo from drying out and splintering, which could make it unsafe to use.
Right. Safety first.
And the nakayui, that middle strap we mentioned, plays a crucial role in securing both the tsuru and the sakigawa. The sakigawa itself, the leather cap at the tip, has specific thickness requirements for safety during strikes.
Even the way it's assembled sounds quite particular, with the nakayoi, the sakigawa, and the specific way the tsuru and tsukahimo are tied.
Yes, the method of tying the tsuru to the sakigawa and then connecting it to the tsukahimo,
Tsukahima.
the handle cord. Sometimes it's done with the aid of a small leather piece called a kimono. It's a specific and learned skill.
Okay.
And even adjusting or trimming the tsukagawa might be necessary to ensure a comfortable and secure grip. It's also worth noting that in the Nito-ryu, the two-sword style, there are specific different length requirements for the daito, the longer sword shinai, and the shorter sword shinai.
Daito and shoto. Okay, the shinai is clearly more significant than it first appears. What about the bogu, the protective gear? It looks quite comprehensive.
It is. Each piece of the bogu plays a vital role in protecting the practitioner during kaiko, during practice.
Right.
The men, or headgear, is designed to safeguard the head, eyes, ears, neck, and shoulders from strikes.
That covers a lot.
It does. Key components include the mindar, the protective flaps that cover the neck and shoulders, and the mengane, the grill made of duralumin that protects the face.
Duralumin, like airplane metal?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Strong and light. The menbuchi is the leather frame that surrounds the mengane, and the daiwa is the reinforced base where the mengane is attached. Inside, there's padding for comfort and shock absorption, like the uchiwa and tenenchi pads.
Okay. And the coat, the gauntlets. They look like they need to offer both robust protection and the flexibility to grip the shinai effectively.
Exactly. The coat protects the hands and wrists. The kote gashira is the padded fist portion, often reinforced with deer hair.
Deer hair.
Traditionally, yeah. The kira is the section that covers the wrist, and a well-designed kote will allow for a good range of wrist movement. The kotehimo are the laces used to secure the kote.
Kotehimo.
And the palm area, known as the tenuchikawa, is usually made of deerskin or synthetic leather to provide a good grip. The coat buton is the cuff that extends up the forearm, offering further protection.
And you tie the laces specially.
Yes, the kotehimo are tied in a specific way to ensure a secure fit while maintaining wrist flexibility. Very important.
Then there's the do, the chest and torso protector. That looks like it would absorb the impact of many strikes.
It does. The do is designed to protect the vital organs of the torso. Traditionally, it was made of strips of bamboo bound together and then covered with lacquered leather or treated fabric for durability.
Bamboo again.
Yeah. It consists of various parts such as the bomune, the decorated chest area, the shoko, often an ornamental design, and the kumokazari, cloud-like decorations.
Decorative too.
Sometimes, yes. The mune chichigawa are leather loops used to secure the munehimo, the chest cords. The do is fastened around the waist with the koshihimo, which are attached to the do at the yotsukata chichi, the four corner loops.
A lot of parts.
There are even different methods for tying the mune chichigawa depending on the style and preference.
And finally, the taikare, the apron-like protector.
Right. The taikare protects the lower abdomen and groin area. It's made up of the otare, the larger central flap, and the kotari, the smaller side flap.
Saikotore.
The zekin, the rectangular patch where a practitioner's name and affiliation are displayed, is attached to the otare.
The name tag.
Basically. The tar obi is the thick waistband, and the tear is secured by the wakihimo, cords that wrap around the back and tie in the front.
Just putting all that gear on and taking it off must be a whole ritual in itself.
It is. There's a specific order for donning the bogu. First, the tanuki, a thin cotton head towel.
Tanuki.
Then the men, followed by the do, the tear, and finally the kote, always putting on the left one first, then the right.
Left then right for kote.
Okay. Taking it off follows the reverse order. There's even a proper way to handle and store each piece to prevent damage and maintain its condition. For instance, you should avoid pulling the coat off by the fist or wrist section, as this can damage the padding.
Good tip.
There are also specific ways to tie the menhimo, the men cords, when storing the men, often looped in a particular way for hanging.
So it's not just about providing protection. There's a whole system and a respectful way of handling the equipment.
Yeah.
Now, where does all this practice typically take place? In a dojo, I believe.
It's a dojo, yeah. The Kendo training hall. It's considered a dedicated and important space for both physical and mental discipline.
Dojo.
The term dojo has its roots in Sanskrit, actually, originally referring to a place of enlightenment.
Really? Sanskrit?
Yeah.
Oh.
In the context of Japanese martial arts, particularly since the Meiji period, it has come to signify a dedicated space where martial arts are practiced. This could be a formal training hall, a gymnasium, or even an open-air area, as long as it's a place where practice regularly occurs.
And are there specific customs or expected behaviors within the dojo?
Oh, absolutely. Respect is paramount in the dojo. Generally, activities like running around, loud talking, eating, and drinking are not permitted within the training area.
Basic respect.
And bowing a standing bow, or richure, is a fundamental act of respect performed upon entering and leaving the dojo, directed towards the shomen, which is the front or designated upper area of the hall.
Joe.
It's also customary to remove your bogu bag before performing this bow. Maintaining the cleanliness of the dojo is considered important, and traditionally, newer members often take on cleaning duties as a way to show respect for the space and the practice.
So everyone pitches in.
Pretty much.
It sounds like a very focused and disciplined environment.
Yeah.
What about the physical characteristics of the dojo itself? Are there ideal features for a training space?
Well, the ideal flooring for a dojo is wood, preferably sprung wood, which helps to absorb the impact of footwork.
Sprung wood, like
Yeah.
a dance floor.
Kind of, yeah. Concrete floors are less ideal as they can put more strain on the joints. Good ventilation and adequate lighting are also important considerations in modern dojo. Historically, some dojo featured high windows called mushamado.
Mushamado.
Yeah, which were designed to prevent outsiders from observing the training, a bit secretive.
Interesting. So the environment itself is designed to support the practice. Now, we've discussed the equipment and the training space. Let's talk about the crucial element of etiquette, or reiho.
Reiho, etiquette, is absolutely fundamental to Japanese martial arts. And the saying, Rei ni hajimari, rei ni owaru, practice begins with etiquette and ends with etiquette, truly highlights its significance.
It begins and ends with etiquette.
It's about cultivating an attitude of respect and humility throughout all aspects of training.
And bowing seems to be a very central part of this etiquette.
It is. Bowing is performed to the shomen, as we mentioned, to your instructors in order of their rank, and to your fellow practitioners, a bow called otageni rei, meaning to each other.
Otageni rei.
Even during formal events like tournaments, there are specific protocols for when and to whom you bow, such as to the shomen or sometimes even to the national flag.
Okay.
Before and after training, it's common to practice mokuso, a form of seated meditation where the eyes are softly closed, helping to focus the mind.
Mokuso. Meditation.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the specific forms of bowing?
There's the richure, the standing bow, where you maintain a straight posture and make eye contact while bending forward slightly from the waist.
Ritsure.
When the command Shisei o tadashai seiza is given, practitioners kneel down in a formal posture called seiza,
Seiza. Kneeling.
typically lowering the left knee first, followed by the right, a movement that requires a specific technique called hakama sabaki if you are wearing the traditional hakama trousers.
Hakama sabaki.
From seiza, you perform the zare, the kneeling bow, placing both hands palms down on the floor in front of your knees and lowering your forehead towards the floor. The act of standing up from seiza, called takigari, also follows a specific sequence. While less common in modern kendo practice, there's also the sankyo no rei, a squatting bow.
Sonkyo no rei.
Okay.
And does this emphasis on etiquette extend to what happens during actual practice sessions?
Yes, absolutely. Before starting a training exercise, it's customary to perform a ritsure while holding your shinai in your left hand. Even during a practice drill, You might bow by lowering your shinai in a gesture called kamae otoku, which indicates a disarmed or neutral stance.
Kame otoku.
A particularly important aspect of etiquette during practice is acknowledging a strike honestly and with humility. Phrases like "merimashita," "chodai shimashita," or "arigato gozaimashita" are all appropriate responses to a valid strike received.
Acknowledging you got hit.
Exactly. And the expected reply from the person who delivered the strike is "fujibun deshita," which translates to "it was insufficient," expressing humility and a continued desire for improvement.
It was insufficient. That's humble.
Very. It's crucial to never act as if you scored a point when you didn't, and equally important to acknowledge a valid strike made against you.
So honesty and humility are deeply ingrained in the etiquette of Kendo. Let's move on to the foundational physical aspects. The kama, where stances, and the datatsubui, the target areas.
Right. Kendo utilizes 5 basic stances, collectively known as Gogyu no Kame, which are often associated with the 5 classical elements.
Gogyu no kame, 5 stances.
There's Chudan no Kame, the middle stance, which is generally considered the most versatile and balanced.
Chudun, middle.
Jodan no Kame is the high stance, with the shinai held above the head.
Dajobyon hai.
Hasa no Kame is an 8-faceted stance where the shinai is held to the side.
Hasokai.
And Gedan no Kame is the low stance, with the shinai pointing downwards.
Gedan, low.
Finally, Wakigame is a more concealed stance where the shinai is held hidden to the side of the body.
Akigame, hidden.
The most common form of Jodan is Hidari Marote Jodan, where the left foot is forward and both hands grip the shinai raised overhead.
Hidari Marote Jordan. I imagine each of these stances offers its own set of advantages and disadvantages depending on the situation.
Precisely. For example, Gedan no Kamae is often used for defensive purposes and for initiating upward strikes. Haso no Kamae offers a degree of adaptability to various situations.
Right.
It's important to emphasize that maintaining proper footwork and a stable body posture are crucial in all of these stances. They aren't static positions, but rather dynamic bases for movement and technique.
Dynamic bases. Okay. And these stances are employed to attack specific target areas, the datotsubi.
Correct. The primary target areas in Kendo are men, the center, and the left and right sides of the head.
Men. Head.
Kote, the right and left wrists.
Kote, wrists.
Do, the right and left sides of the torso.
Torsus.
And Suki, the throat.
Suki, throat.
Yikes. Each of these target areas has a specific point that should be struck with the manuchi, the sweet spot of the shinai.
With the manuchi.
It's also worth remembering that Nito Ryu, the two-sword school, has its own distinct set of fundamental stances, such as Chudan Nito, Juji no Kama, and others, reflecting the different dynamics of wielding 2 swords.
A whole different strategic approach with 2 swords. Now, all of this preparation and foundational work leads to kaiko, or training. What are some of the key principles and elements of a Kendo training session?
Well, for anyone starting out, finding a good and experienced teacher, a sensei, is absolutely essential.
Finding a good sensei. Key.
Also, approaching practice with enjoyment is crucial for long-term progress. It's important to focus on developing large, fundamental movements that originate from a solid posture, rather than trying to execute small, intricate techniques from rigid and tense stances.
Big movements from good posture.
Exactly. The advice is often to master one technique thoroughly at a time and to actively seek opportunities to practice with more experienced practitioners, as this provides invaluable learning.
Practice with extra.
Above all, maintaining humility and genuinely listening to the feedback provided by your sensei and senior members is vital for improvement.
Listen humbly. Got it. And what does a typical Paiko session usually look like in terms of structure and exercises?
Okay, a typical Paiko session usually begins with warm-up exercises designed to increase range of motion and prepare the muscles and tendons for practice, often including specific stretches for the Achilles tendons and the neck.
Warm-ups.
Important. Following the warm-up, there's often a formal seating arrangement in seiza, followed by a period of mokuso and then bowing to the shomen and the sensei, with students typically seated in order of their rank.
Formal start.
Practitioners then prepare their bogu and shinai. The active training usually starts with takiai, a preparatory bow with your training partner.
Takibo.
A foundational exercise is kirikashi kaiko, which involves a series of continuous strikes and parries, emphasizing the crucial concept of Kikentai Icchi.
Kikentai Icchi.
The unification of spirit, sword, and body.
Spirit, sword, body unified. Okay.
As well as maintaining proper mai distance and using correct footwork called okuyashi.
Mai and okuriyashi.
Kikentai.
Ichichi. That sounds like a central principle we should definitely come back to. What other kinds of practice are typically included in Kaiko?
Next, you'll often see uchikomi keiko, which is focused on practicing specific strikes with correct form and spirit.
Uchikomi keiko, striking practice.
Kakari keiko is a more dynamic and intense drill, where one practitioner charges and continuously attacks a stationary partner, often the sensei, emphasizing aggressive strikes and strong follow-through.
Kakari keiko, charging practice. Sounds intense.
It can be. There's a variation called Ayuchi Kakari Koko, where both partners engage in continuous attack. For beginners or those needing more guidance, there's Hikita Keiko, where a more experienced practitioner encourages and guides the less experienced one.
Hikitati keiko, encouraging practice.
Nice. Gokaku Keiko is free practice between partners of roughly equal skill level, allowing them to work on their tokuiwaza, or favorite techniques, and their defensive skills.
Gokaku keiko, equal partner practice.
Jigeko is also free practice, but typically with a wider range of partners. Shobu Keiko is more focused on practicing as if in a match, and Shiei Keiko is specifically preparation for upcoming tournaments.
Jigeko, shobu keiko, shiai keiko. Lots of types of free practice.
Then there's Matori Keiko, or observation practice, involves learning by carefully watching others train.
Mitori keiko, learn by watching.
Finally, Hitori Keiko is solo practice, which includes suburi, practicing basic sword swings and going through kata.
Hitori keiko, solo. Okay.
A Kaiko session usually concludes with a final bow to the instructor and listening to any advice or feedback given.
It sounds like a very well-rounded and progressive approach to training. Now, all of this practice is aimed at developing effective waza, or skills and techniques. What exactly defines a successful technique in Kendo?
Okay, a successful or effective strike is called yuko datotsu.
Yuko datotsu.
For a strike to be considered yuko, it must land on a valid target area with the correct part of the shinai, which is the manuchi, and the blade must be oriented correctly.
Target, manuchi, blade angle.
Crucially, the strike must be accompanied by Kikentai Icchi, that unified expression of spirit, sword, and body, and be followed by zanshin, a state of sustained awareness and readiness after the strike.
Awareness after striking. Okay.
The concept of seme, which is applying mental and spiritual pressure, is also vital in creating openings for waza.
Semi. Mental pressure.
Exactly.
So it's not just about making physical contact. There's a whole context of intention, execution, and follow-through involved. And when are these techniques most effectively applied?
Waza are most effectively delivered when your opponent shows suki, an opening or a moment of vulnerability.
An opening.
Suki can manifest at various points, such as at the very beginning of their attempted technique, degashira.
Degashira. Start of opponent's move.
When they are retreating, haiku tokoro.
Haiku tokoro. Retreat.
When they are physically or mentally fatigued, sukarata tokoro.
Sukareta tokoro. Fatigue.
When the breathing rhythm is disrupted, kokyu no midere.
Kokyu no midere. Breath disrupted.
Or when they exhibit kyo, a state of surprise or hesitation.
Kyo. Surprise or hesitation.
Broadly speaking, waza are categorized as shikake waza, which are your own initiating or offensive techniques.
Yukake waza.
Offensive.
And oji waza, which are counter techniques executed in response to your opponent's actions.
Jiwaza. Counter.
It's generally difficult to land a clean strike against an opponent in a solid kame, so often you need to create or exploit their suki. You might even force an opening using techniques like harai waza or makikaichi waza to knock their shinai aside.
Suki, that fleeting moment of opportunity, both physical and mental. Now let's move on to the formal aspects of kendo. The kata and the rules of competition. Kata, I understand, have deep historical roots.
Yes, kata or prearranged forms have a long and significant history in kendo, evolving from earlier forms of paired sword practice known as kumitachi.
In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, there were efforts to standardize these forms, leading to the development of systems like Kishiru and ultimately the Dai Nippon Teikoku Kendo Kata, which serves as the foundation for the Nihon Kendo Kata practice today.
Nihon Kendo Kata, the modern standard.
Right.
What is the purpose and what are the benefits of studying kata in modern kendo practice?
Well, the practice of kata offers numerous benefits. It helps to refine your posture, composure, and overall body awareness.
Posture, composure, awareness.
It develops agility and coordination, helps to eliminate bad habits in your movements, and provides a deeper understanding of proper mai, the concept of distance, and the fundamental principles of wielding a katana.
Mai again. And katana principles.
Furthermore, it plays a crucial role in cultivating your spirit and focus. The Nihon Kendo Kata consists of 10 tachi no kata, or longsword forms.
Tachi no kata, longsword, 10 forms.
Which progressively teach basic techniques, kihon, initiating attacks, shikake, and responding to an opponent's attack, soji. In these forms, there are designated roles of uchidachi, the initiator or attacking sword,
Uchidachi.
and shidachi, the receiver and eventual winner, the doing sword.
Shidachi?
There are also 3 kodachi no kata, short sword forms.
Kodachi no kata. Short sword. 3 forms.
All kata practice begins and ends with specific formal procedures, including takiai, the initial positioning, and specific bowing sequences, both zare, kneeling bow, and ritsure, standing bow.
So kata serve as a vital link to the historical techniques and fundamental principles of swordsmanship. What about the competitive aspect, the shiai, or match?
Right, shiai. Participating in shiai requires significant mental preparation,
I'll bet.
including learning to manage fear and anxiety, maintaining focus on fundamental techniques, and always displaying fairness and good sportsmanship.
Mental game is big.
Huge. Competitors are expected to have a thorough understanding of and adhere strictly to the rules. An ippon, a valid point, is awarded when a designated target area is struck with the shinai's manuchi, accompanied by proper spirit, correct posture, and the blade oriented appropriately, followed by zanshin.
All those elements again. Tatetsubui, manushi, spirit, posture, blade direction, zanshin. Wow.
It's a lot to bring together. Simultaneous strikes, known as aiuchi, can occur, but generally do not result in a point for either competitor.
Aiuchi, no point.
A strike is judged to be yuko, or valid if it meets all these criteria. There are also specific techniques, such as kote nukimen, where a strike to the coat is used to open up a subsequent strike to the men.
Kote nukiman, fake kote hitman.
Basically, yeah.
Right.
The rules also outline procedures for handling injuries, and intentionally causing harm to an opponent results in penalties.
Safety rules, good.
Referees' decisions are considered final, although in certain circumstances, a team manager can make a formal protest to the referee director, but only before the conclusion of the match.
Decisions are final, mostly.
Okay.
So even in a competitive environment, the emphasis remains on respect, proper technique, and adherence to a strict code of conduct. What about the specific roles and procedures of the referees during a shai?
Okay, in a shi, there is typically 1 shushin, the chief referee, and 2 fukushin, or subordinate referees.
Shushin and fukushin.
Oh. Positioned around the competition area to ensure they have a clear view of the action. The match begins with the command hajime.
Hajime, start.
Certain actions are prohibited and considered hansoku.
Hansoku, fouls.
Yeah, basically fouls or prohibited acts. These result in penalties for the offending competitor, which can range from the opponent being awarded an ippon to outright disqualification.
Okay, what kind of things are hansoku?
Examples include stepping out of the designated area, dropping your shinai, making unnecessary physical contact with your opponent outside of valid strikes, like tripping or shoving, and various unsportsmanlike behaviors.
Right, keep it clean.
If it's necessary to temporarily stop the match, the referee will call yum.
Yum, stop.
The match concludes with the chief referee announcing the outcome. Shobuari, for a win by ippon or hikiwake, for a draw if the time limit expires with no score.
Shobuari, match decided. Hikiwake, draw.
After the call, competitors assume the sankyo posture, withdraw their shinai, stand, retreat to their starting lines, bow to each other, and then exit the competition area.
Proper ending procedure.
In the event of a competitor being unable to continue due to injury or other reasons, their opponent may be declared the winner by default, or fusengachi.
Fusengachi. Win by default.
Referees use a set of flag signals to communicate their judgments, such as indicating agreement on a point, disagreeing, or signaling that they did not have a clear view of the action.
Flags for judging.
When a point is scored, the shushin will announce it clearly. For example, men ari. If a strike to the head is recognized, and then the match will resume. Referees also rotate their positions, a process called kotai, during longer events.
Kotai. Rotation. It sounds like a very precisely managed process designed to ensure both fair competition and the safety of the participants. Now, Kendo also has a structured system of ranking known as shogo and dani.
Yes, the ranking system in Kendo includes Q ranks, which are for those below the level of Dan.
Q ranks, below black belt, sort of?
Kind of analogous, yeah. And Dan ranks, which signify progression above the initial levels, first Dan, second Dan, etc.
Gun ranks, like black belts.
In addition to these, there are honorary titles, Renshi, Kiyoshi, and Hanshi, each representing progressively higher levels of skill, knowledge, and character within the Kendo community.
Renshi, Kyoshi, Hanshi. Honorary titles. Very high level.
Extremely. The president of the AJKF has the authority to award and, in rare cases, withdraw these honorary titles. It's worth noting that posthumous awarding of these titles has been discontinued. To be eligible for Dan examinations, candidates typically need to be members of a recognized Kendo organization and must meet specific criteria related to the amount of time they have held their current rank, their demonstrated skill, their knowledge of Kendo principles, and their overall maturity in the art.
Time, skill, knowledge, maturity.
For example, there are specific time requirements between achieving Shodan, first Dan, and progressing through the higher Dan ranks up to Hachidan, eighth Dan. There are also some alternative age-based requirements for advancing between Nidan, second Dan, and Godan, fifth Dan.
Structured progression.
Examination committees, composed of a certain number of qualified examiners whose own rank is appropriate for the level being tested, conduct the Dan examinations.
Right, rank examiners.
And for the higher ranks of Rokudan, 6th Dan, and Nanadan, 7th Dan, a written examination is also required.
Written exams, too.
A specific number of examiners must agree that the candidate has met the required standards in order to pass the examination. The number needed varies by the Dan level being tested.
So it's a structured path of progression that reflects a practitioner's dedication and mastery of the art. Now, beyond the physical and technical aspects, Kendo is deeply intertwined with philosophy.
Absolutely. Kendo is viewed as far more than just a set of physical techniques. It's a discipline aimed at the development of one's character, often referred to as kihin.
Kiin, character development.
It has strong connections to the philosophical principles found in works like Miyamoto Musashi's Gorin no Sho, the Book of Five Rings,
Musashi again?
which offers insights that extend well beyond the specifics of swordsmanship. There's a rich body of philosophical concepts in Kendo, drawing from traditions like Bushido, Zen Buddhism, and Confucianism.
Bushido, Zen. Okay. Could you share a few of these key philosophical concepts and what they represent in the context of Kendo?
Certainly. Let's see. Biojoshin refers to a state of mind that is calm and undisturbed, like a still lake.
Biojoshin, calm mind.
Fudoshin is the concept of an immovable mind, a spirit that remains steadfast and unperturbed by external pressures or surprises.
Fudoshin, immovable mind. We heard that earlier.
Right. Ji can have a dual meaning, representing both doubt, which is generally seen as hindering, and duty, a core virtue in the samurai tradition.
Ji, doubt and duty.
Hoshin describes a mind that is empty and receptive, free from preconceived notions, allowing for intuitive action.
Hoshin, empty, receptive mind.
Concepts like hikuren jitoku, meaning attaining through 100 don, emphasize the importance of rigorous and persistent training.
Hikuren jitoku, persistent training.
While hikuri no michimo ipokara, even a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, highlights the significance of consistent effort.
Hikuri no michimo ipokara, one step at a time.
Ichigo Icchi is the idea of treasuring each encounter as unique and never to be repeated.
Ichigo Icchi, treasure the moment.
Vyo no Mi describes a body and mind as solid and unyielding as a rock.
Vyo no Mi, solid as a rock.
Jin is the virtue of compassion and benevolence.
Compassion.
Johakyu is a concept describing the rhythm and flow of movement, slow start, acceleration, quick end, often applied to techniques, and even to the overall structure of a practice session.
Johakyu, rhythm and flow.
Kenzen Ichi is the principle of the unity of sword and zen, emphasizing a state of mindfulness in action.
Kenzen Ichi, sword and zen united.
Kigurai refers to a sense of dignity, self-respect, and spiritual bearing.
Kigurai.
Dignity. Kokyu encompasses breath control and timing, crucial in all aspects of kendo.
Kokyu, breath control.
Kurizume describes the act of pressing your opponent with overwhelming spirit and intensity.
Goizumi, pressing with spirit.
We've already discussed kyo, an opening, and ma'ai, the crucial concept of distance and timing. Metsukus is the focus of your gaze and attention.
Matsukuai, gaze.
Mugame is a state of being without a fixed stance, suggesting a posture of confident readiness, like no stance is the best stance.
Mugame, no fixed stance. Interesting.
Musubi refers to connection, both physical and spiritual, with your opponent.
Kusubi.
Nanakurobi Yaoki, fall down 7 times, stand up 8, is about perseverance in the face of adversity.
Nanakurobi Yahoki, perseverance. Love that.
Nikudan Kesai is the idea of selfless sacrifice for a greater cause.
Nikudan Kesai, selfless sacrifice.
Seme, as we've discussed, is the application of pressure. Setsuninta can be understood as a sword that spares life, emphasizing the aim of kendo to develop character rather than just destructive skill.
Setsuninto, life-sparing sword.
Shin is a mind that is fixated or clinging, the opposite of the ideal of Hoshin.
Shishin, fixated mind, bad.
Shizentai is a natural and relaxed posture.
Kikentai, natural posture.
We've touched on Suki as a technical opening, but philosophically it also represents a moment of mental or spiritual vulnerability.
Suki, mental opening too.
Ten is courage and fortitude, and Waku refers to doubt or hesitation, something to be overcome in your mind.
Tan, courage. Waku, doubt. That's an incredibly rich and interconnected set of philosophical ideas that clearly underpin the practice. We've talked about Suki as a technical opening that can be exploited, but it sounds like it has a deeper philosophical dimension as well.
Yes, philosophically, Suki can also refer to a state of mind where one is unguarded or vulnerable. A key aspect of mental discipline in Kendo is to cultivate a state of constant awareness and not present such an opening to your opponent, either physically or mentally.
Avoid mental Suki. And we've mentioned Kensen, Mai, and Sen in the context of technique. How do these concepts relate on a philosophical level?
Good question. On a deeper level, these concepts represent the intricate interplay between your intention, embodied in the sword tip, Densen, your understanding of the dynamic space and time between you and your opponent, Mai, and your ability to seize the initiatives.
Intention, space-time initiative.
Mastering these isn't just about physical execution, but about developing a keen sense of awareness and anticipation. It's very much a mental game.
And Semi, that spirit of attack, it's more than just trying to land a strike, isn't it?
Absolutely. Seme involves applying mental and spiritual pressure on your opponent before any physical action is initiated. It's about dominating the mental space, disrupting their focus, and creating opportunities through your intent and presence alone.
Pressure before action. Yeah. Wow. Toku Iwaza, your forte or specialty technique, also seems to have a deeper significance beyond just being a favored move.
It does. Toku Iwaza represents the culmination of your dedicated practice and reflects your individual strengths and understanding of Kendo principles. It's a technique that you have honed and internalized to such a degree that it becomes a natural and effective expression of your Kendo. It's your technique.
Your signature move, almost. Finally, there's the traditional saying about the priorities in Kendo training. Eyes, feet, courage, and strength.
Exactly. The saying, Ichigan Nisoku Santan Shiriki, first eyes, second feet, third courage, fourth strength.
Ichigan Nisoku Santan Shiriki.
It emphasizes the traditional order of importance in Kendo development. Focused vision, Vegan, to perceive opportunities.
Eyes first.
Nimble and precise footwork, Soku, for positioning.
It's second.
Unwavering courage, Tan, to act decisively.
Courage.
And finally, skillful technique and physical strength to execute effectively.
Strength fourth. Interesting order.
It really highlights the mental and perceptual aspects over just raw power.
It's truly fascinating how the seemingly physical art of Kendo is so deeply interwoven with mental and spiritual discipline. Now let's turn our attention to some of the significant figures in Kendo's history, the personages. There seems to be a real sense of respect and even reverence for these legendary swordsmen.
There is indeed. Japan has a long and rich tradition of valuing swordsmanship, and the stories of famous swordsmen often blend historical fact with elements of legend.
Fact and legend mixed.
Figures from various periods, including the Kamakura, Muromachi, Azuchi Momoyama, and Edo periods, such as Ito Itosai Kagehisa, Tsukahara Bokuden, Miyamoto Musashi, and Yagyu Munenori are particularly celebrated.
Those big names.
Even in more modern times, influential masters like Mochida Morigi have left a lasting legacy. While the context of actual sword combat diminished after the Meiji Restoration, the principles and spirit embodied by these figures continue to inspire Kendo practitioners.
Let's delve into a few of these individuals. Ito Itosai Kagehisa, the firewood master we mentioned earlier, sounds like a truly unique character.
Legend has it that his birth was quite extraordinary, and his life was filled with remarkable feats. He is credited with founding the Ito-Ri school.
Ito-Ri again.
And the very succession of his teachings is said to have been decided by a deadly duel between his top disciples, Mikogami Tenzin and Ono Zenki.
A duel decided it. Wow.
His emphasis on using that seemingly humble piece of firewood to defeat his opponent speaks volumes about his innovative and unconventional approach to swordsmanship. Remember that firewood supposedly set the standard length for the kodachi in his school.
Unforgettable. And then there's Miyamoto Musashi, arguably the most well-known swordsman in Japanese history.
Musashi's life is a captivating blend of historical record and popular myth. He is said to have participated in over 60 duels, remaining undefeated by his late 20s.
60 duels undefeated.
He was known for his distinctive and perhaps somewhat eccentric personality. His Dokugyudo, a set of 21 principles for self-discipline,
Dokugyodo, way of walking alone.
and his seminal work, the Gorin No-Sho, or Book of Five Rings, are still widely studied today for their profound insights into strategy, philosophy, and the path to self-mastery.
Book of Five Rings, still read today.
His teachings cover a vast range, from the most fundamental aspects of sword technique in the 5 sections, earth, water, fire, wind, and void, to deep philosophical considerations of life and the universe. Things like, do not regret what you have done, or never be jealous. Powerful stuff.
Yagyu Tajima no Kami Munenori also appears to have played a very significant role in shaping Kendo.
Munenori served as a chief Kendo instructor to the Tokugawa shogunate, a position of immense influence.
Instructor to the shogun, big deal.
And he was the author of the important text Hyoka Densho, which details his school's teachings. His family played a notable role in the pivotal Battle of Sekigahara, and he was richly rewarded for his service by Tokugawa Ieyasu.
Okay.
Munenori's teachings particularly emphasized concepts like Byojashin, the unmoved mind, and Kentai Hyari, the harmonious integration of sword and body, offense and defense.
Byoshin and Kentai Hyari, key concepts from him.
Right.
Sukahara Bukuden is another name that frequently comes up when discussing legendary swordsmen.
Bokuden, who lived in the 15th and 16th centuries, is renowned for his rigorous training at the sacred Kashima Shrine, a historical center for martial arts.
Trained at Achima Shrine.
Numerous legendary accounts surround his life, including the famous story of him supposedly disarming a boastful samurai on a ferry without drawing his sword, claiming his unique style was Muchikatsuru, winning without a sword.
Winning without a sword. On a ferry. Great story.
Isn't it? He embarked on extensive musha shugyo, a warrior's pilgrimage to hone his skills, and his students included prominent figures like the warlord Takeda Shingen.
Taught Takeda Shingen. Wow.
Moving into the Edo period, we encounter the figure of Chiba Shusaku.
Chiba Shusaku.
Chiba Shusaku founded the influential Hokushin Ito-Ryu school and is credited with having taught thousands of students during his lifetime.
Thousands of students.
He is particularly noted for his role in popularizing the use of bogu in kendo practice and was known for his meticulous attention to the design and quality of kendo equipment.
Push for bogu use.
There's an intriguing anecdote about him experiencing a moment of satori, or enlightenment, while observing an axe head flying off its handle and killing a creature. Like seeing the essence of technique in that accident.
Enlightenment from a flying axe head. Huh.
He also had a significant connection to Yamaoka Teshu, another important figure in the history of swordsmanship.
Finally, we have Mochida Moriji, a more recent figure in the lineage of Kendo masters.
Mochida Moriji was a highly respected 20th century swordsman who achieved the prestigious rank of 10th Dan Hanshi, the highest level attainable in Kendo.
10th Dan Hanshi.
Incredible. He played a key role in the formation of the Dai Nippon Teikoku Kendo Kata back in 1912, and even had the honor of demonstrating these forms before the emperor.
Demonstrated for the emperor.
His life also offers a connection to the global spread of kendo, as he had experiences in Hawaii during World War II, touching upon the history of kendo in the Hawaii Kendo Federation. Kendo's been in Hawaii for a long time.
It's really inspiring to see how these individuals not only mastered the physical techniques, but also deeply influenced the philosophical and cultural aspects of the tradition, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire practitioners today. Now, it is important to also briefly touch upon the practical considerations of safety and well-being in Kendo, particularly as outlined in some of the resources we've looked at. Appendix C, right? Kendo and health.
Absolutely. Ensuring the safety and health of practitioners is paramount. This includes a number of key strategies, such as regularly inspecting your equipment for any signs of wear or damage.
Check your gear.
Avoiding overly aggressive or uncontrolled movements during practice, and always having basic first aid provisions readily available.
Don't be reckless. Have first aid.
It's generally recommended that individuals, especially those who are older or have pre-existing health conditions, undergo a pre-participation physical examination, and it's crucial to inform your sensei of any health concerns you may have.
Get checked out, tell your sensei.
It's also worth noting that kendo can be an inclusive activity, and there are many examples of individuals with physical challenges who are able to participate and benefit from the practice.
That's great to hear. What are some specific equipment checks and safety precautions that practitioners should be mindful of?
Okay, well, before each practice session, you should carefully inspect your shinai for any cracks, splinters, or fraying, especially around the sakigawa, the leather tip. A damaged shinai can be dangerous.
Frayed Sakigawa. Bad news.
Ensure that your men fits properly and that there is adequate space around your ears to prevent potential eardrum injury. You don't want the men pressing right on the ears.
Ear space in the men. Important.
Wearing the correct uniform, which includes the dogi, jacket, and hakama trousers, also provides a degree of protection and facilitates proper movement.
Uniform helps too. And what about broader health risks that might arise during training?
Well, heat-related illness and dehydration are significant concerns, particularly when training in warm conditions while wearing the full bogu. It gets hot in there.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
It's important to be aware of the early symptoms, such as excessive thirst, dizziness, and nausea. Stay hydrated.
Drink water. Know the signs.
In the event of someone fainting during practice, the immediate priority is to safely remove their men and dose matter. You might even need to cut the cords to ensure they can breathe freely and to seek medical evaluation.
Fainting protocol. Cut cords if needed.
Contusions and abrasions are common, but their severity can often be minimized by ensuring proper fitting equipment and using additional padding if needed.
Bruises happen.
More serious potential injuries can include head trauma from falls or collisions, neck hyperextension, and various lower extremity injuries, such as ankle sprains or knee issues,
Head, neck, leg injuries.
which can occur due to the dynamic footwork, quick movements like fumikomi, the stamping step, taiatori, body clashes, hikiwaza, retreating strikes, or even suburi if done improperly or excessively. Lack of balance and fatigue increase the risk.
Lots of ways to get hurt if you're not careful.
It's crucial to listen to your body and not push through significant pain, especially in areas like the Achilles tendon, which can suffer strains or even rupture. Proper warm-up, cool-down, and paying attention to proper form and technique as taught by your sensei are essential for injury prevention.
Warm up, cool down, listen to your body, listen to your sensei.
Exactly. Always seek guidance from your instructor on how to perform techniques safely and how to properly use your equipment.
So a responsible and mindful approach to training encompasses not only dedication and effort, but also a strong awareness of safety and personal well-being. Well, this has truly been a deep and fascinating exploration into the world of Kendo. Looking back at all the material, what would you say are one or two of the most surprising or insightful things you've taken away from this deep dive?
For me, one of the most striking aspects is the incredible depth of philosophy that underpins what might initially appear to be just a martial art focused on sword techniques.
The philosophy part, yeah.
The interconnectedness of ethical principles, mental discipline, and physical practice is truly remarkable. It's not just hitting things with a stick.
Definitely not.
Another key insight, I think, is the resilience and adaptability of Kendo throughout history. Its ability to evolve from, actual battlefield skills to a modern discipline that continues to emphasize personal growth and character development. It survived Ban's modernization. Quite something.
I completely agree. And I think the way Kendo has managed to preserve its historical roots and the spirit of traditional swordsmanship while adapting to the modern world is really compelling. It makes you think, doesn't it? About how these ancient traditions can still offer valuable lessons in discipline, respect, and continuous self-improvement that can be applied to so many different aspects of our lives today.
Right.
Perhaps considering the dedication and focus required in Kendo can offer a new perspective on tackling challenges in our own personal or professional lives.
Right.
That immovable mind idea.
That's a thought-provoking point. It certainly raises the question of how the principles of focus and perseverance cultivated in the dojo might translate to achieving goals in other areas of your life. Maybe that Nanakarobi Ya Oki, Fall 7, Rise 8 spirit.
Exactly.
Perhaps exploring the writings of figures like Musashi or reflecting on the core tenets of Bushido could provide further insights into this connection for listeners.
Absolutely. If any part of this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, whether it's the intricate philosophy, the captivating stories of the legendary swordsman, or even the practical details of finding a local Kendo club, we highly encourage you to explore those areas further.
Thank you for joining us on this in-depth exploration into the way of the sword.